Hello, everyone. I guess I'm live. I'm Anastasia Sharova. I'm the founder of Happy Bellyfish, and I'd love to welcome you to the third episode of our new live video podcast, Healthy Eating Unbiased and Simplified. It's a truly unique project and interview series because we're bringing you amazing experts, food and nutrition experts, with whom you can actually interact during the interview. You meet them personally and you can ask all your questions all you want. Today we have a really, really exciting topic because it's been, I think, a huge trend in the health and fitness world in the past few years. It's intermittent fasting. So a lot of famous people are actually following this practice, and they've been reporting that they've been having amazing results. And I should say that there is a growing scientific body of research that is proving the result of intermittent fasting. It's especially famous among people who are after weight loss, or also for those who are into biohacking. I mean, they want to improve, the abilities of their bodies and go beyond what they think is possible. And yes, there are a lot of crazy amount of benefits of intermittent fasting. I've never tried it myself, but we discussed it in our group just in the past few days. And a lot of our group members, they said that, yes, they tried it. But it seemed that there were different experiences with intermittent fasting. However, not when it came to results, but about sticking to this. But we'll talk about it later. Today, we are having a great, amazing human being and also a real professional. His name is Anastasis Tzanis, and he's a nutrition therapist, and he's also a yoga teacher. So he is practicing intermittent fasting himself. He's a big advocate of this practice, and he has a truly, truly unique approach, because he's practicing it. He can talk about it from a professional point of view, from a scientific point of view, and Anastasis is very scientific, trust me, and also as a yoga practitioner. So, which means he also knows spiritual aspects of fasting, and he also has active physical practice, which is very important, and which is also a very big element of fasting for many. Okay, so let's welcome our dear guest, our honorable guest today. Let me invite him to the screen. Hi, Anastasis, how are you doing there? It's funny, our names are so similar,
Yeah.
No,
Anastasia. Nice meeting you.
Sorry, Anastasia, I interrupted you because so you were talking now about the benefits, and you noted the cardiovascular system, right? That this is actually scientifically it's proven that this is the main thing that comes as a benefit for people, and also I think weight loss, right? Because almost everyone I met personally who said they tried it, they said that weight loss, people who don't want to go on a diet, but they go intermittent fasting for some time and follow it for some time, then they lose weight. But somebody said that you also pick it up fast once you stop it.
Yeah. Let me comment about the weight loss. I think the weight loss for a short period of time is what people should not expect to benefit from. I think intermittent fasting has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity, and we know this sits at the very heart of weight management and body composition. But this is not something that it happens overnight or over a week. So depending on where someone is, I think they can expect within a few weeks, if they are on a very good diet already, or a few months if they have to do some work with cleaning, if you want their diet, to lose weight and sustain it. But the reality is that experiments are not usually done. I mean, scientific experiments are rarely done over such long periods of time, especially with something as restricting as fasting. I believe that it can have a benefit. I have seen it in practice. I have experienced it myself. Some people that you spoke with said that they saw the yo-yo effect is because I would expect they did it for a short period of time, and then they went back into their old habits. I don't see intermittent fasting as a weekend fix or a week fix. I think it is more something that a lot of people can incorporate into their regime and lifestyle, if you want.
Okay. Yeah, I loved how you said the yo-yo effect, but I guess it's actually a case with any diet, right? As long as you follow it, it shows result, but then you come back to your previous lifestyle and things go back. So you mean that the intermittent fasting is something that you have to stick to for a very long time, right? You have to make it your life. Basically, this you should make it the way of eating, or is it something that you can do like a cleanse for a certain period of time?
I think that it is. I see it as a tool that has different benefits depending on how you use it. So I'll give you one example. I'll give you one example on how it can be used on a medical for medical purposes. So in a lot of I say a lot. I think there are a few hospitals in Germany where I know you are based at the moment.
Yes.
I know specifically the University of Essen has a hospital there, and it has an integrative ward. And in one study, they had people that from different conditions practice an 8-day fast. And I think, don't quote me on that, but I think it was 80% of those that practiced the fast experienced an improvement, a significant improvement into their primary complaint when they were discharged from the hospital in comparison to the ones that were not. Okay. So, and the complaints that they were had recruited into this study, there were IBS, there were headaches, there was IBS headaches. I don't remember all of them, and they definitely excluded some neurological conditions. But the reality is that I think fasting can support periods of high stress, whether the stress comes from social environment or from a very physical environment. I also, whenever I speak or give a workshop, I use a story where for 1 month I had to look after my mother and at the hospital, and because it was a very stressful period and I had to take some decisions for her at the time, naturally I was eating once every day and a half, every 18 hours. I knew that I had to stay with a clear mind. Now, is that something that I kept doing afterwards? No. So it can be supportive for stressful periods when you want to have a little bit of extra energy. At the same time, I think on the long run, I think giving ourselves breaks, whether it is a 14-hour on a daily basis or if it is a 24 hours on a weekly basis or 2 days on a monthly basis, you will see big variety on what people feel comfortable with doing. I think that can also be part of long-term health. I don't buy the idea. I was reviewing my notes. It reminded me of this very popular thing that kept circulating in the news, like not long ago, that 3 days fast, water fast, will reset the immune system. I think these are bogus claims. I think these are things that kind of like almost put some people off that are very serious about science, because we know, it's a very general thing to say, but I think we should not write off completely fasting as a very important component of giving our body a break. Yes, potentially, like this study claimed that activates stem cells. That was the main claim. It was activating some stem cells that potentially can develop afterwards and become immune cells. I would believe that, very soon, maybe there is a new study that stem cells that become bone cells are also activated. Or, I think that it is very important to give our body a break from this very expensive process of eating food, breaking down, metabolizing it. It's very expensive.
Yeah, like kind of a reset, right? Kind of a clean. And I found it very interesting because what you mentioned now, I think, is the psychological effects of fasting, right? So it goes kind of beyond just, cleaning your gut and making your stomach feel lighter, but also a psychological aspect of it. Yeah, that like what you referred to, this study in a German hospital in Essen, that people felt better, and I wonder how much of it was actually just on a physiological level and how much was mental.
Yeah. I mean, I tend to not differentiate between the two, but I think even if we want to say that the psychological aspect of fasting can can be important, I think that's something we can claim. I think fasting has been used, as you mentioned in the very beginning, for spiritual purposes, and it's very valid, I think.
Yeah, that what you touched on, the spiritual aspect of it, I found it very fascinating. Because I mentioned that we have a private group, and we were discussing the experience with intermittent fasting, and one of the participants said that she used it to, connect to God, connect to universe, and however you prefer to call the higher power, and that it gave clarity to her mind. It helped her to answer some very important questions in her life. And honestly speaking, when I think about fasting, I'm only mostly thinking about the body benefits that can come from it, but I never saw it as a particular spiritual practice. But I guess it's often used, I mean, actually each religion has some kind of fasting, right?
Yom Kippur, which is was 1 month ago, or Ramadan in Christian religion, you will find the fasting always there in one form or the other. And usually it builds up gradually. So sometimes certain foods are eliminated, and there is always the option of complete not refrain from food. A lot of authors have used it for creative purposes. A lot of artists. I think we are speaking now about a big shift between what a lot of people think, that food is energy, and it is energy. I'm not saying that this is not, but food is energy, and we need it on a constant basis. And as a result, we end up buying on these ideas of 5 meals a day are better, and 6 meals are even better, and
Yes.
And then we move on the other side, that okay, as much as we may enjoy food, and believe me, I'm a foodie, I love eating, we need, if we want more energy, if we want to do spiritual work, the brain is very demanding in terms of energy consumption. So if we want to save some extra energy from the one we have, it is available in our body for our brain and for spiritual practices, we need to stop eating. We need to give ourselves a break and allocate the energy to this sort of work.
I guess this is exactly what, like in entrepreneurial community, for example, intermittent fasting is huge, because people say we need to achieve the highest levels of our productivity. And exactly what you just say, instead of going for digestion, our energy goes to our brain. But I should say that I also hear the opposite experiences. Sometimes, that people who try fasting, they experience really bad mood. They can't stop thinking about food. They become obsessive. It also seems that women are more sensitive to fasting than men. I don't know if you can comment about it, but also, do you have some tips actually how to avoid this problem? Why does it even happen? Why some people can easily say no to food for extended periods of time, and why for some it leads to mood swings and terrible obsessions, so has an opposite effect?
I would say that as a preparation before fasting, I think there are a couple of things that people should consider, and having a high quality food is of paramount importance. I know it's preaching to the converted, because I'm sure a lot of the people that are on the podcast at the moment, or that they are following the Happy Belly Feast, they will be following a healthy diet. But I cannot emphasize enough that if someone is like on a messy diet of high processed carbohydrates, of non-organic food, I think they will have a much harder time. And the reason for that, I think it's not a coincidence. I think has to do with how all of these modern westernized diet affect our blood sugar and our microbiome. Now, all of these are terms that are recycled, and every condition that is out there has been linked to compromised microbiome and compromised blood sugar. But the reality is that they are true. If someone was to experience any of the side effects, if you want, such as headaches, mood fluctuations, I would think that already they would have to do some preparatory work prior to that. It's not that necessarily fasting is not for them. They are maybe like on a hormonal level, or maybe on blood sugar level, which we know it's linked with insulin, which is a hormone, and so on. They will need to prepare a little bit before. Whether women
fasting is not for everyone, it means, right? Like not for 100%.
I would say that no, nothing is for everyone. At least, nothing is for everyone. And I think that especially people that are a little bit more having challenges with their health, they should seek some professional supervision. But at the same time, I think when people have problems with anorexia and like bulimia or other eating disorders, I think again, like there is a little bit of a confusion, because there might be a confusion, because I think fasting is not about vilifying food, and it is more. It has to. I think I see fasting as a necessary part of renegotiating our relationship with food and enjoying it more. If someone skips a meal or starts skipping one meal a day, one of the things that I will tell them, is that I'm expecting them to start enjoying food more when they eat. And that's usually what they say. What they say in the follow-up when they come back. This has nothing to do, enjoying food more has nothing to do with avoiding food, like because you are anorexic and you have zero appetite, or because of eating non-stop compulsively. So I think we cannot there are very different aspects of one's of not eating. I know there are often there is a little bit of an not confused, but people that are interested in fasting will bring it up. They will say, oh, I know this person and she was never eating, but maybe she was having her perception about her body was very different, was not healthy, and this had to be addressed before she was eating. It has nothing to do with skipping one meal. We're talking about skipping one meal. I don't think that we need to go into extreme long fast, at least straight away. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
So yes, it does make sense completely. That there are a lot of things that is, psychological and clinical, right? It also affects what state you are. And I found very interesting what you said. It's really important what you were eating actually before you dive into intermittent fasting, like how healthy your diet really was, right? And when you talk about preparation, like what should you do to actually prepare yourself for painless transition into the fasting?
For that purpose, I have written an article where I outline most of the steps I usually recommend, and I probably consider that making sure that one has good quality of food to be like the very first step. I mentioned that already. And then as a next step is knowing what to eat when someone is stressed. I've spoken with people, I have heard people's stories, and if there was one thing that kicks people out of the habit of fasting, so either it will be breaking a long fast, or it will it will not allow them to carry on whatever regime of fast they have, 16:8, 5:2, or whatever this is stressful situations. Our life is very stressful nowadays. If we live in London or in Berlin, I don't know how many people live in these cities that are not very stressed. So I would say that knowing what to eat when you're stressed, knowing how to deal with the stress, it might not have to do with eating, might have to do with like some other type of stress management, but these would be the biggest issues, that the first steps. And from there on, I think that one can skip one meal, then can cut down snacks. I think snacks can be very tricky. Then again, looking at macronutrients, I think there's a lot of discussion about whether one needs to eat a lot of fat if they are fasting. There is a lot of people that are like fast and they are on ketogenic diets. I think there is a little bit of again confusion in these areas, but yeah, I think vegetarians can fast, no problem. My partner she's a vegetarian, and she has fasted for longer periods than I have. Yeah, there is no. I'm not a vegetarian, but so at the moment, so yeah, I think it is suitable for everyone, provided that they come from a very healthy place. They have done a little bit of work with their diet, if you see what I mean. Did I answer your question? Does this answer what you asked?
Yes, it does. It does pretty well. So, but when you're already in the fasting periods, like intermittent fasting, you don't eat for how many, 20 hours, or is it?
My suggestion would be to start with skipping one meal.
Just one meal. And what are the best foods to actually eat during the intermittent fasting?
I would say that
less grains, maybe, I don't know, less certain vegetables or more nuts. Is there any recommendation?
One of the benefits, I think, Anastasia, what happens is that people naturally, it's like a side effect, but it's a very good one of fasting, is that people, when they get into a regular type of fasting, they start improving the quality of their diet. So although in the beginning they really it's what you just asked me is a very common question. They usually find out that the quality of food improves, and the majority of them will move more towards a high protein diet, I think, and maybe also they will increase a little bit the amount of fat. Now, I have seen people like that fast, that eat grains, and I have seen people that are vegetarians and they don't eat grains or legumes. I have seen meat eaters fast. I have seen, and each one of them finds their own patterns. I think, I'm sorry to repeat it for the third time, it goes back to the quality of food. The same, non-organic vegetables would probably support us much less in a fasting period than organic ones. Like I said, I'm preaching to the converted here, but yes, looking after the quality of the diet.
I can totally relate to what you're saying, actually, because on Happy Bellyfish, we also always emphasize how important it is what kind of quality of food you eat. You can eat less, but you get the same amount of nutrients, that you need, as if you ate more of, a vegetable bought in a supermarket, which was traveling for thousands of miles and ripened by gas. Like, of course, it's a different topic, but I really can understand what you're saying. And I don't know if our listeners also had experience with that. with those especially who fasted, if they noticed, I don't know, guys, did you notice that there was any change in the quality of food that you consumed? Did you make different choices? Tell us in the comments. Yeah, we'd love to hear what was your experience with that. And I'll come now to the one more question for you, Anastasis, because I emphasized at the beginning of the interview that you're not just a nutritionist, but you're also a yoga teacher and a long-term yoga practitioner yourself, right? Yeah. So I'm not sure what style of yoga you practice, but I assume that it's quite physically demanding, the regular practice itself. And I would like to ask you about the effects, like apparently a lot of people, I'm afraid that they will have a muscle loss if they fast. Is it the case? Is it true that if people want to, stay muscular and strong and lean, then they should avoid these practices, or is it the other way around?
Or the other way around, exactly. I like how you put it. I think that there is usually people that are afraid of muscle loss are people that have not practiced fasting. What happens, one of the concepts that a lot of people have in their head that happens when fasting is that the body starts using its own energy reserves. And without wanting to get technical, this process is called autophagy. So it is self-eating. So the body, after it has used its own energy reserves, and this probably is something that will happen after. When I say energy reserves, I probably mean like glucagon and glucose. So that is primarily stored in the liver. In the liver, in the muscles. So after 12 hours, maybe these have been used, and then we are moving into a stage of autophagy gradually. I don't think that everybody will be moving at the same time, like after 12 hours and 1 minute, but in that approximate time frame. And I think that autophagy does not mean necessarily muscle atrophy. This is something that needs to be distinguished. One of the things, because this is a common question, this is a common concern, I thought it would come up. And as you know, I have prepared a very quick presentation. It's not even a presentation, it's just a couple of references of studies that answer some of the common questions. And this will be available for whoever wants to access after the podcast. And there was this study that they did, and it was on mice, admittedly, but basically they had them follow an intermittent fasting. Actually, they also induced autophagy through a drug which is there has been a lot of studies on rapamycin to simulate intermittent fasting, and they found that there was no muscle loss even after 4 weeks. So 4 weeks of staying in an autophagy state through intermittent fasting was not did not cause muscle loss. You will see a lot of people, if you follow if you go on social media and you look intermittent fasting. Of course, you never know on social media. The fact that someone hashtags it doesn't mean that he's practicing it.
Yeah.
But you will see a lot of people that are very muscular, and they don't. They do it, and for yogis as well, for sure.
Okay, that's interesting, because yes, a lot of people have this concern. They think they will starve, and yes, as you said, the body will eat themselves. So it's not a problem, and it's great.
Do you mind if I make one comment? If someone was to be very concerned, and of course some people will be losing muscle mass at different rate than others, I would say when they should just keep their protein intake a little bit higher. If they are eating 1.2, 1.5 grams per body weight per kilo, they can move to 2. And I think that should suffice to keep their muscle mass at the same place.
But let us come back to the workouts and the physical activity. I think there are some recommendations also to combine intermittent fasting with specific workouts. Is it also the case that, for example, if you want certain effects on your weight loss, talking again about weight loss, you have to do some physical activity which is actually increased comparing to your normal state when you eat normally?
I think I would rather look at the bigger picture of weight loss. I think weight loss can be down to a couple of other parameters that are not and not just the food itself. Of course, which is a big parameter. So I would say that, for example, someone that is practicing a low intensity workouts, and some styles of yoga can be of low intensity. I'm not saying that all of them are. I think, and if they want to lose weight, I think they're best off practicing this training while fasted and delaying their next meal by a certain period of time. So to make it a little bit more relevant, let's say that someone wants to lose weight and sees a yoga practitioner. But the style of yoga that she's practicing is a little bit of it's more restorative or gentle. It doesn't have to be restorative. I would suggest maybe if this class she was doing was in the evening, like to do it like to have finished her dinner prior to the class, like as early as possible, so that it doesn't interfere with her practice, and then go to sleep ideally without eating, provided of course that she doesn't have any problems with cortisol issues and she can sleep after a couple of hours of no food. If someone was to have a more rigorous training protocol and like let's say maybe I don't know, maybe let's stay with yoga. Let's say that they are practicing Ashtanga, and I don't think that many Ashtangis would be eating before their practice. It can be quite rigorous. I think then they can, again, in that case, they can prolong. Usually, Ashtangis tend to practice in the morning. They can delay a little bit. They can prolong their fast. They can delay their breakfast. But again, maybe they wanted to think about like having their meal earlier in the day, which has also other benefits as of like fine-tuning their circadian rhythm and so on. So, like I said in the beginning, how one tailors it around their training will very much vary depending on their goals and how much they want to lose. But yes, especially after slow-paced exercise, I think there should be very little eating if someone wants to lose weight.
I see. You touched now on basically like, building the fasting routine around your exercise routine. Also about talking about incorporating it in your life. A lot of people say that it's a little difficult when you're fasting alone in the family. Yeah, there is also this kind of a social aspect. So you have to really align it with not just your schedule, but also the schedule of other people. Did you have any experience with that, or do you have any tips how to do it with your family schedule?
Yeah, this is a big one. I think, but this is not relevant only to fasting. I think it's relevant for any change that anyone will make. I think there is, and I think this is a decision that one needs to make personally with herself or himself first. How determined they are to follow this new regime, whether it is fasting, whether it is adopting a vegetarian diet or anything. I think there is a very strong social aspect around fasting, and people know that when others change, this indirectly will affect them. And one thing that I haven't mentioned, but it's very clear to me that there is all of us have a very emotional relationship to fast, which goes back to our childhood. The first person that fed us was our mother, and who doesn't have a strong connection with his or her mother? So sometimes when we are changing our diet, it's like we are renegotiating our relationship with our parents potentially. We are renegotiating our relationship with our friends and family members. If you believe, my only advice to people that want to try it is that if you believe that it's going to be good for you, make this, take this commitment for yourself. And whatever, you will find the way around it. You can come up with a white lie and say it is for medical purposes. You can come up with make it a challenge, or say to your friends a challenge. Recruit your friends, maybe convince your friends. Absolutely, having others on board is always going to be easier.
Yeah, the peer pressure also, right? Like you probably can have an accountability partner, a person who will kind of push you to do that, right? Motivate you a little bit better. That is probably also the reason why in traditional communities it was easier to fast, right? Because when everyone fasts, there is not so much temptation to break
Yeah,
it.
I mean, nowadays, I think, that what is considered normal is like, it's crazy. I think if people don't see you snacking on silly chocolate, and people don't see you like continuously indulging in all confectionery foods, they consider you strange. Like, I mean, depends on your cycle, I guess. I don't have this problem anymore, but I probably had it to some extent when I was working for a corporate. So I think whatever standards we set, we have to set them for ourselves, and we have to decide because we will live by them. At the end of the day, you don't share the same digestion with your friends and your family. You have your own, and can be slightly different. And I think, yeah, you may look weird the first few days or first few weeks, but if you have better clarity, if you have more energy, if you have a healthier body, I think this is a small price to pay.
Yeah, well, this is a great, motivational final statement, I would say, which is also applying. You said that it's not just about fasting; it's about every diet, right? Like if you switch your eating habits, which don't go, let's say, that don't align with the habits of the majority of people around you, it will always be challenging. But you have to be strong, or have a stronger motivation to stick to it and do good for you. And actually, if people see the difference, they will follow you also, and they will support you on this journey. At least it's usually everyone's experience. So guys, we have just a few minutes left of our interview, and if you have any questions, if you want to say something to Anastasis, if you want to share some experience, your experience with fasting now, please do that, and we'd love to see that. We'd love to hear what was actually that you learned, maybe something new during these hours that we've been talking now. I want to say big thank you to Anastasis from my side. I did have a little bit of a different perspective now on intermittent fasting. I definitely did not think about the mental benefits of it, and also, yes, what you said about the improved stress management. And it's not just about your body, it's not just about your food. And yes, that some people will have it a little bit more difficult. They'll find it more difficult to stick to the fasting routine, and they should just take it slowly, and try it out. I think I'm going to try out myself. Now I feel very motivated. Yes.
I'm looking forward to hear how it goes.
Absolutely. I'll share. So guys, I'm not seeing any questions now. At least they're not showing on my part of the screen. Yeah, so Anastasis, I know you mentioned that you also prepared some presentation. Is it true?
Yeah.
With some, I think I saw even a part of it. Yes, it's there is a lot of material which looks quite scientific and complicated, and because you refer to very interesting studies. Yeah, what will you find in this PDF?
Basically, it looked complicated. I tried to make them as digestible as possible. So it's basically a couple of references from studies that link on the benefits of fasting. There is not an incredible amount of research, but there is enough to so that we can have have confidence in practicing fasting safely. Most of the research comes most of the research comes on broad scale comes from Ramadan. I'm not sure why other religions have not been put into test, like the fasting from other religions. But hey ho, that's what it is there. But it's this presentation is not about Ramadan. It's just one slide that summarizes some of the benefits. The rest are, like I said, about muscle loss and about how. I don't even remember the rest. But one can look them up, and if they have any questions, they can come back to me. And I will be putting more material. I have already put some on social media, but I will be putting more, especially in regards to mental health and fasting, which I think there is an increased amount of research being done.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to read it. And guys, we will also share it in our group. Anastasis, I'll add you to our group. That maybe people can continue conversation there and talk to you about it and exchange more experiences. As I said, there were already some discussions happening, and we will share this document. And yes, I hope that you also had some takeaways from our discussion. And I think somebody was writing that, yes, they are going to try now the intermittent fasting or just fasting as a practice itself. So thank you, Anastasis. You inspired some people to do it, and it's huge. This is the main reason why we are here. And thank you. So now I'm just going to say bye to everyone, and I'll see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful evening or day or where you are in the world.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed this video. Now, head over to happybellyfish.com and check out some amazing online programs and cooking classes that we are offering together with food experts from all around the world. Eat healthy, keep your belly and taste buds happy.